And we will be talking about President Buhari's, rare cabinet shake-up. Yesterday, 2 ministers were sacked. It's not unusual, really, but in this instance, it is unusual. It hasn't happened in the last 6 years, yes, and this is the first. Femi Adesina spoke after they were removed yesterday after the Federal Executive Council meeting. Let's hear what he said. And afterwards, my guest, Chuks Akunna, will join me on the phone to talk about the action of the president. Stay tuned.
I must commend this cabinet for demonstrating unparalleled resilience that helped the government to navigate the disruption to global systems and governance occasioned by the COVID-19 shortly after inauguration. Change is the only factor that is constant in every human endeavor. And as this administration approaches its critical phase in the second term, I have found it essential to reinvigorate this cabinet in a manner that will deepen its capacity to consolidate legacy achievements. Accordingly, a few changes marking the beginning of a continuous process have been approved. I have personally met with the departing members to thank them for their contributions to discussions in cabinet and the valuable services rendered to the nation. And I wish them the best in all future endeavors.
All right, the best in all future endeavors, and that has got some Nigerians talking. Some are already saying, well, Mr. President, we thank you for this one, but the other ministers that we know and we believe should also be sacked. Well, when the lines open, you will share your thoughts on that.
You are shocked. I wasn't shocked. I was surprised. Surprised is the word for me because I as an investigative journalist, I am also aware of happenings in the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. But knowing the kind of presidency we have, the kind of administration we have, it would generate a lot of fury if only the Minister of Agriculture sacked. So to make it appear as if it was abnormal thing, so they added the Minister of Power. But I can tell you for free that several things have been happening in the Ministry of Agriculture.
Okay.
Yes.
I know you're also a farmer, so are you going to tell us a thing or two about what you know so far?
Yes. I mean, there was a story that broke 2 months ago. I was one who broke the story. Document where the ministry supposedly paid 30 million naira for a mosque to be built, Friday mosque. So when the story leaked, to control the damage, the ministry claimed that they really built a mosque in an IDP camp in Borno State. So what the question was, what is the duty of the Ministry of Agriculture and Natural Resources? Is it to build mosques? I mean, there's no ministry in Nigeria that has a cover vote, a penny, to build mosque in Nigeria, or a church for that matter. So we have the Ministry of Humanitarian and Disaster Management, which is in charge of the ministry in charge of IDP. So, you wonder why the Ministry of Agriculture, the ministry that is carrying the responsibility of providing the energy environment for agricultural development in Nigeria, will want to involve himself with building mosques. But I tell you, in the coming days, a lot of things will be unpacked on why the president actually fired the Minister of Agriculture and also the Minister of Power. Of course, you see, they're citing incompetence, they're citing poor performance. But then you also ask yourself, if poor performance was the yardstick, the other ministers who have performed also have equally performed poorly.
Yeah, but Chris, has anyone from the president's office said the why?
No, come again.
Has anyone said why they were sacked? No one has said anything.
No, what they said poor performance, because the presidential spokesman spoke yesterday and said something about that they are sacked for poor performance, and that in the coming days, that other ministers might follow.
No, but okay. So let's move away from the proving 30 million to build a mosque. That was sometime in May, right? Like I said, you're a farmer as well. What has been going on in the Agric Ministry?
So nothing, you see. And then, like I said, I was waiting for this moment, and as with those unfold, we're going to see a lot of things. A lot of people are working behind these things. I inclusive. I'm looking at, I just got information yesterday. I got a lead yesterday as to the hundreds of millions of naira worth of chemicals and farm implements that were looted under the watch of the past sacked minister. So that said, this is a man who is 75 years. This is a man who started work in 1972. So this is a government that is in the 2020s, and you go to a man who started work in 1972 and bring him and expect him to perform, like farming, for instance. Farming has changed all over the world. The same way we farmed. Of course, he's not a trained, I don't know he's not a trained agriculturist. He's a finance, he's a business person. But, that's by the way. But in the present age and circumstance, globally, you bring people who have fresh ideas, people who understand what's going on, what's trending across the globe in the field of agriculture.
Yeah, but Chuks, that's not...
Yeah, I'm a farmer.
Yeah.
I'm a farmer. I can tell you that everything you see or hear about farming is on paper. I'm a graduate. I'm a very senior editor, and I'm into farming. And I never got one kobo support from government. So you ask yourself, all these monies, you have the Anchor Borrowers program, where is the money going to? Where is the money going to? This is just what I can tell you, that those who benefit from this money, those who are set to benefit from this money, are not even the farmers. The money never gets to target audience, which are farmers. The money, and that's why you see when the peak of when we're inching towards the end of the rainy season, and go and check how many percent has the price of foodstuff crashed? Very minimally. And we're just entering September. So by the time we get to October, November, December, when we are done with all the harvest, the price of food items will not only go back to what it was before, but I can tell you for free that it's going to be more expensive, because what determines price is the interplay of the forces of supply and demand. When you have plenty of things, when you have a lot of goods chasing over money, of course the price will crash. We see the crisis, all the grain belts in Nigeria, Plateau, Taraba, Benue, Zamfara, Niger. Of course, they are ravaged by insecurity.
Yeah.
And farmers can't go to farm, because when they go to farm, they are kidnapped. Those who are not kidnapped are killed by suspected herders, militiamen who masquerade as herders. So this is a problem. And when President Muhammad Buhari came on board, he said he's going to diversify the economy to minerals. As we speak, we just pay lip service.
Okay, I think...
How much have we made from some of the minerals in the past 6 years? Very, peanut compared to what is actually on ground. The Chinese are here, the Asians are here. They're taking all our natural resources in terms of solid minerals. They're not paying for it. And government agents who ought to supervise, like the supervisory ministries and the agencies, they line their pockets and they keep quiet.
Okay, so it's not primarily because the minister himself is maybe an old man, or he's not an agriculturist. He didn't put himself there. So if the president is speaking members for his cabinet and he chooses whoever he chooses, then can we really blame the person for non-performance?
But the truth is, basically, when you are a journalist, for instance, if you are establishing a radio station and you bring a lawyer to manage it, of course it's a problem. But you see, when you have directors in the ministry, you have what you call an institution in all the ministries. So you have technical experts who are there, yes. But then the policies, because each time a minister is appointed in any ministry, I can tell you that for free. A lot of people come with proposals. There are pending proposals. There are persons who want to bring proposals. Okay, let's do this way. Let's do that this way. So it takes a person who has an insight into that field to say, no, this wouldn't be good for us now, or what is happening, what is the trend the world over. And at least the minister should have an idea of what his ministry should be doing.
Yeah. So again, who puts the minister there? Isn't that supposed to be a consideration from the beginning?
That is the question. That is the question. You see, all these men, a man who was 70-something when he was appointed minister, of course, we all know that it's because of political patronage or filial or relationship. We have two with ministers from Kano. We have the Minister of Defense, and we have the Minister of, I can't remember. We have two ministers from Kano. We have the man who was Friday State, and I don't know, and another minister. I can't remember the minister now. But then, these are people who have known President Muhammadu Buhari several years back, or who have worked with him. So he places, unfortunately, the president places relationships above competence. Look at what we're saying today. Look at the power sector, for instance. Because when we talk about the public sector, we just talk about the power sector. President Buhari has been in power for over 6 years. What has changed about the power sector? How much more power have we generated since he became president? How much more power have we generated since he became president?
Was that not where they put Babatunde Raji Fashola? He was there, right?
No, yeah, he began. The moment that he began by merging several ministries. Then later he cut out power and made Muhammad Saleh the minister. But what changed? You see, like Shakespeare said, a rose by any other name will smell as sweet. So if you buy yams and call yam cassava, it will not change the fact that it's a field yam. You understand me? So it's not in naming the ministries, but it's in the will, it's in the resolve. The resolve to make things happen, to achieve results.
So what does that resolve like? Because we have several other ministers that some people think should not even be there. I was listening to AIT this morning, and one of the guests there said, defense, for example, that they think defense should have gone, first before even agric and whoever else.
I told you that. I told something similar. I said, if they are citing non-performance as the basis for firing Saleh, Muhammad Saleh, and Manono. But the bigger question is, which of the ministers are competent? And let's face it, that's the problem. So that's the question we have. In fact, if you ask anybody who is the FCT minister, for instance, nobody remembers who is the FCT. Nobody knows his name. He's been there for 60 years. The only thing he's done as FCT minister is to demolish nightclubs. I think that is the problem of FCT. Look, if you go to there's a place they call Berger. There's a place they call the Taco Market. Shell is the same fence with Julius Berger Yard in Abuja. We have a very big market there. If you go there where they sell meat, you actually see sewage, running through where they sell meat, and the whole of Abuja, people go there to buy meat. And we have a minister. All the roads in Abuja, they are broken down. If you ask the minister, he says there's no funding. So these are issues. You say you are for nobody, you are for everybody. But we all know that indeed you are for some persons. President Muhammadu Buhari does not mind going back to 1960 to get somebody who he worked with, or 1950, somebody who he grew up with, and not minding if the person is competent. And this is the same man who will tell me, this is the end of the rainy season. Whoever he appoints, of course, he appointed a substantive minister, an acting minister for the ministry. He has put somebody there. But whoever President Muhammadu Buhari appoints as Minister of Agri, for instance, he will only have one more rainy season to farm before he leaves office. He will have 2022 farming season. So what magic is that person, what magic wand is that person coming with? Like you said,
talking about magic.
About the needs for the Minister of Defense to happen. Yes. You see, if people don't feel safe, people can be safe. And people can actually be safe, but don't feel safe. If people don't feel safe, they won't go to the farms. And if people don't go to the farms, they won't have enough food. And if they don't have enough food, price of food will only skyrocket. And if the price of foodstuffs skyrocket, inflation will come higher. You know, it will affect the value of the naira. But I said, how much was the bag of rice in 2015? About 6.5. You understand? 6.5. February took over. About 6.5. 7,000 maximum. How much is the bag of rice today? With all our Anchor borrowers program, with all the money put into producing these crops, you know, when I see this, because people are afraid. You know, people who actually might want to actually take these loans and produce food. When they take these loans and they heard that people were kidnapped or killed, we saw what happened a few years ago when rice farmers were killed in Borno. And what was the president's response? The president's response was that those dead farmers were to blame, that they didn't get clearance from the military before going to their farms. So, if you have a situation where farmers have to take permission from the military before going to their farms, I mean, what do you expect?
All right.
So, in as much as the minister of the fact minister of agriculture had his own problems, but also, generally speaking, there's a heightened state of insecurity. A few days ago, close to 100 people were killed in Zamfara State. So what's happening? These are the issues. If you don't address these issues, you can appoint 50 persons and keep changing people every day. But then the question is, what are the foundational problems of these ministries? If we don't address these problems, we keep changing ministers and not getting any results.
All right, Chuks, a question I would ask after the commercial is, Buhari said that he doesn't want to leave office as a failure. Perhaps this is the beginning of that, rejigging that would see that his words actually come to pass. But that will be after the commercial. Stay tuned.
This is the Morning Crossfire on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
2 ministers sacked, more to go. That's according to Presidential Aide Femi Adesina when he spoke after the Federal Executive Council meeting on Wednesday in Abuja. I have Chuks Akunna joining me via the phone. He's of the Authority newspaper, and he's giving us some insight about what happened in the Agric Ministry and what he thinks about the Defense Ministry as well. He said, when you give, even if you do give loans, the farmers don't feel safe going to the farms, then it's going to affect cost of food, that's going to affect inflation. And I'm going to add education as well. Kids have been kidnapped. Students are being kidnapped. There was one yesterday. We heard about 74. And we have a defense minister. So if people are not going to farms, kids are not going to school, people can't even go out to do their businesses, where does that leave us? But Chuks is back on the phone. So Chuks, like I asked, could this be the beginning of the president trying to make true his words that he doesn't want to leave, or he won't leave office a failure?
I was going to ask, when the president said that, yeah, in a way, there was some relief. I felt some sense of relief. I said, oh, so this man actually thinks about posterity. But then you ask yourself, how does he want to go about not leaving office a failure? You have 8 years as president, or you have 80 minutes to play a match. Then you fumble for close to 70 minutes, and you want to make up for 10 minutes. Well, in a game of football, it's possible, but in real life situations, it's very difficult because the issue is this. Like I said, as we speak, we have not found an answer to insecurity. So the government appears to be so obsessed with IPOB. Yes, IPOB is a problem in the southeast zone, but then we have a bigger problem in the north, particularly the northwest. Of course, the northeast, we appear to have forgotten about what's going on in northeast, because we saw a few days ago, ISWAP struck, and a lot of Nigerians had to run to Cameroon for refuge. So, if the president does not want to leave office a failure, the first thing to do is to change the security narrative. Because the primary aim of government anywhere in the world, if you read political science, a lot over the ages, people try to think about how best to preserve society. So people said, okay, we have something called the Nigeria Plan, who is sovereign. Then we have people like French theorists like Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Then we have people like Montesquieu, people who came up with ideas, people came up with social contract theory, where people say, okay, let us give up our rights and support one person and make him president or prime minister or whatever. Then in return, we get protection, because over the ages, people defended themselves, individually. They say, okay, there's no point. Let's have a sovereign who is a king or a queen or a monarch or a sheikh, an emir, whatever. And then we respect him, we obey him, and then in return we can sleep at night. But then we have a sovereign in Nigeria who is the president. And he swore by the Quran to protect the life and property of Nigerians. So the bigger question is, or the big question is, how has President Muhammadu Buhari been able to protect the life and property of Nigerian citizens over the past 6 years? Then, how does he intend to change that narrative, given that he has about a year and 8 months, 7 months to go? About a year and 9 months to go. So these are the questions. Yes, he doesn't want to leave office a failure. He said that. Then what are the steps? What steps are being taken not to leave office a failure? Look at just Plateau State, for instance. For the past month, Plateau State has been on fire. What genuine efforts is the president making to restore peace to the Plateau? Because you see, when this thing happened, you think it's just a story. All the Irish potatoes we eat in Nigeria come from Plateau. If you don't know, if the only place Irish potatoes planted in Nigeria is Plateau State. Most vegetables grow only in Plateau State. So as we speak, open prison, law. We've seen that we're not talking about producing food for people to eat. No more talking about creating jobs for people. The narrative over the past 3 months has been whether the governors of the southern states are going to implement or how far can they implement the open grazing law. That is it. So which country, this is 2021 for crying out loud. What has made our discourse is open or closed grazing, if we should have ranches or if we should go and like, let me use the president's word, to reclaim grazing routes. So that's the problem. Okay. The president, after talking about not wanting to be office a failure, his biggest priority is how to go and claim the grazing route by cattle headers. So, the morning they say tell today.
And here we are.
Had 6 years plus to cement his legacy. He's had 6 years to build legacies, and then the remaining years to cement it. But I'm sorry, I'm afraid to say this on live radio. What legacy will President Muhammadu Buhari or his handlers say that he has achieved over the past 6 years?
All right. Let's move back to the ministers. So you've mentioned defense. Which other ministers do you think should be let go as well? Since the president has said it will be a continuous process, who do you see leaving?
People tend to forget that we have a minister for police affairs. We have a special duties minister. We have somebody called Senator George Akunna. Akunna was governor of Benue State and he was appointed special duties minister. And for the past 6 years, Akunna, the things in Benue State, plus salaries and allowances. The Ministry of Special Duties used to handle disaster management in the past. But President Muhammadu Buhari came and created a special ministry for that purpose. So that made the Ministry of Special Duties redundant or ineffective. We have somebody who's been there drawing salaries for the past 6 years, doing nothing. The only time Judge Akunna came out to talk was a few days ago when he said for the president to declare emergency rule in Benue State. And then you ask him why. He said because of insecurity. And I said, if it's insecurity, Katsina should come first. If we're talking about insecurity, Katsina, Zamfara, Niger, Borno, Plateau. We talk about Benue State. Of course, the list, we have several ministers who have just been drawing salaries over the past 6 years. What effort has the president made to ensure that these ministers are accountable? Because the meaning, you have the word minister. Minister, what does it mean to be a minister? A minister is somebody who attends to the needs of people.
Like a senior commissioner. Have
these people been ministering to the needs of Nigerians, or they ministering only to their own pockets? Because if you're a minister, to begin with, you have to brand new Land Cruiser SUVs to your name. Then you have your retinue of aides, you have the driver, you have a cook, you have stewards, you have an orderly, you have a chief detail. So all these things are a drain on taxpayers' money, on taxpayers. So you want to talk about not leaving office, not wanting to leave office, because you see there are two things. You see, they say if wishes are horses, beggars to want to ride. Yes, much as President Muhammadu Buhari has said that he doesn't want to leave office a failure. To me, that's wishful thinking, because you ask yourself, what effort are you going to make, or are you making not to leave office as a failure? Because if you want security, like I said, security, you see the economy, what will you do? Naira is over 500 naira to $1. So what magic will he make to bring, because you see, now, after 2023, when he leaves office, he'll be judged vis-a-vis Jonathan's administration. So people will ask you, under Jonathan, how much was Naira to $1? That's the economy, because you came. Then under Jonathan, how many states are under the control of terrorists, whom the government has commonly called bandits? You understand me? Then under Jonathan, what was the rate of unemployment in Nigeria? Under Jonathan, what was the buying power of the naira compared to where you left it? So there are questions that Nigerians will ask. So many say that there's something called rhetoric. Rhetoric is something you just say to grab headlines. But the question is, what magic on earth will President Muhammadu Buhari perform between now and don't forget that by mid next year, by mid 2022, it will all be politics. They're talking about congresses, talking about conventions to elect governors in states and governorship candidates in states and presidential candidates. So, technically, President Muhammadu Buhari has about a year to go.
Oh, less.
So, what magic on earth does he have? What magic wand is he going to bring to ensure that he doesn't leave office? I would like him to leave office as a success story.
Yeah, but time is already working against him.
Sorry.
I said time is already against him.
Of course. See.
All right, Chris. Let's just hold your thought. Let's take some calls at this time, and some WhatsApp messages. You'd like to join the conversation? 0817-923-0002. If you think some ministers need to be let go, let's hear their names and the why. If you think that perhaps this is, no matter what the president does, he still will leave as a failure, because this is, one of the first things he's done after that statement was made. David is in Yenagua. David, let's hear you. Good morning.
Yes, my name is David West, Madam Enoh. Good morning. Yeah. First of all, I would like to look at this issue from the perspective of the Constitution. If you look at the provision of Section 171, Sub 1 of the Constitution, 1999 as amended, it clearly and expressly gives the President the power to appoint whomever he feels that can function in his cabinet. The Constitution also grants him the power to decide to fire whenever he feels he's no longer working according to what he projects or how he wants his cabinet to go. Now, if these are his powers and he has exercised it by sacking whichever word they want to use, the Minister for Agriculture and his other counterparts.
Power.
I do not see any issues in it. What will be my concern is, whoever that is going to replace these ministers that he has sacked should do what these other ministers could not do. All Nigerians want is, they want to see change.
All right.
He has said he will not leave office as a failure. Let this change.
All right. Israel is Namawa. Israel, good morning.
Good morning. Let me comment the guest in the studio there. But we have to start, just like the last speaker has just said, the president has the power to hire and fire any minister. For me, I know that the promise of the president, which he said that he will not leave the office as a failure. But what I will urge him is that he should make sure that he accomplish his promise. But I believe that even if the term remains less than 2 years, that something can be changed if he wants to change. Now, the minister that I would like him to fire is the minister of humanitarian, something like that. The woman who is in charge of the Empower and all the rest. You know that when the Empower program is in the office of the vice president, the Empower is done well.
Are you there? All right, let's move to Chris. Chris is calling from Artillery. You're talking about Zainab Ahmed. Chris, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. No.
Hold on, that's not Zainab.
Let me talk about the Mr. President's statement that longevity of his destiny, that will not like to leave office as a failure. This is making it too authoritarian, Mr. President, and making such comments. Last time he came back from the United States, journalists asked him, how are you going to do on this year? He said that continuity. That continuity means a lot. It doesn't mean that Mr. President don't know that he's saying on going to allow within 1 year now. Let him not be that Mr. President want to continue with this series of I promise to stop insurgency. You people know that I have not eradicated them. I need to do more. And I want Mr. President explain to us, why did you sack the ones that you sacked? Is it because of incompetency or they are not doing well? Tell us. You cannot just sack my father. You didn't tell my father. Is he a criminal or you didn't do well? You just sack them. Is it political appointment? Maybe they are pockets, they have skills. You want to bring another of your brothers or another of your colleagues or another of your person. Is this something that you're going to settle them? Why did you sack the ones that you sacked?
All right, Chris. So, additional read the president's speech, says because change was constant, the review had become critical in order to reinvigorate the cabinet to deepen capacity and crystallize legacy achievements. Says they're approaching a critical phase in their second term, hence the need to rejig the cabinet to strengthen weak areas, close gaps, manage the economy and improve the delivery of public good in the country. So the minister you were referring to, Sadia Umar Farouk, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. Some messages here. I think the sack of the minister is a step in the right direction. No. I think the sack minister steps on their master's toes. If not, why is the defense minister still there after several attacks by terrorists on innocent citizens and even the army base, NDA, Ogundeji, Tolulokwe, sent that from Lukbaku. As long as I'm concerned, if he says it's sacking the two ministers based on performance, it means he should sack all the ministers and himself, because both himself, the president, and his ministers have not performed. Odima sent that in. Tony Anthony Odum, the sacking of the ministers may not be unconnected with sharp practices among politicians, but both ministers have experienced relative progress in their respective sectors. They may have eaten the forbidden fruits amidst their award of contracts, loans, grants, among others. Just imagine if these two ministers were from the southeast. Imagine the kind of conspiracy, marginalization, bias, and all sorts you'll be hearing this morning, Obina. Good morning, my sister. The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs is supposed to have been sacked. She's corrupt. She has used her office to empower and enrich herself. Says the tab phone for NPower Batch B was not given to them by the minister. The feeding of school on air is fake. Sunny sent that in from Ajib. The president has 8 hours to write Nigerian exam. He has 4 questions to answer. The 6th hour, he's yet to answer 3. Yet he's telling us he doesn't want to fail. Okay. Divine says he can tell that to the children. Final call, John. Good morning, John.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, let's hear you.
Yes. Mr. President sacked 2 ministers and other people. Let me join the following Nigerians talk about this sacking. It is a welcome development because somebody that is not doing well, what is not well, it is not well. The Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development and the Minister of Power, they are not doing well. Even the governor of CBN, Mr. President is supposed to sack him because these people need the country. Hello?
Yeah, go on.
Anything in question means $1 when $1 was 180 naira. Today, $1 is 520 naira. Is it a good thing? Everything today, the price of commodity in the market is very concerning because of the dollar. If you look at the Minister of Niger Delta, Gosun Abadu, that is eating what belongs to the Niger Delta and Mr. President leading in the cabinet. They're supposed to sack Gosun Abadu as others, as Mr. President sack these people today who are calling on Mr. President to sack Gosun Abadu and Gosun the governor of CBN, to make the country better, even the Minister of Defense.
So that question will be my final question to Chuks. If any sack can, in any sector can make any significant change. He said the president, he doesn't think he can because of the time. Technically 9 months left before politicking will get into top gear, and then we know how it normally goes. But on Facebook, Thango Dategbu is asking if Chris Ngige is still a minister. Yes, he is. Labor, productivity. Bright Thomas, what I don't understand is the sudden change in body language, and to think he's made it obvious that the welfare of citizens is of no concern. Basically, I'm not buying all this. Sacking the ministers, Mr. PMB lacks the competence in his cabinet. He should reshuffle both himself to Lucky send that in. The president's action is a defensive mechanism of shifting blame of the current Nigerian state of affairs to some set of people. Wow. Okay. Chuks, you want to respond to that last bit, that he's shifting blame to a set of people by what he's done?
Yes, of course, we know that that's the usual that's the stock in trade of Mr. President. He did that as a military head of state in 1980s, early 80s. You know, he blamed middlemen for destroying the economy. You see, what people don't even understand. It's when you want to keep a pet, when you have a pet, you want to keep the pet because you throw, like in this case, a dog. You throw a bone to a dog. You know, it's not like we're dogs, but when you want to keep people busy, you give them something to chew at. So a lot of Nigerians are taken in by, suckered in by this change in guards and through ministries. But I'm not impressed, like I said, because the president has a way of shifting blame to everybody. Everybody is to blame except him. So, like somebody asked, what they do is incompetence. What is the meaning of incompetence? How do you measure incompetence? Because if you're going to measure incompetence, such ministers as the Minister of Defense should have gone. And Minister of Defense came on air and blew Nigerians and told us that we're cowards. That whenever we see armed robbers or kidnappers, that we panic. That we shouldn't panic, that we should fight. That most times they come with 2 or 3 bullets. That we should stand back and fight them. The minister said that on national TV, and several months on, he's still minister. Are you telling me that's not the Minister of Defense? You see, you're Minister of Defense, and the NDA, the primary military university in Nigeria, gets attacked by pockets of ragtag bandits, and the minister is still in office. And you want to tell me that these 2 guys were sacked because of incompetence? I mean, I have to go back and recheck the meaning of incompetence. Because if you're Minister of Defense and you're the Nigerian Defense Academy, that's the name of the school, Nigeria Defense Academy, over which your minister gets attacked, and 13 officers were killed, and another was kidnapped, and the president will not deem it fit to fire the Minister of Defense. So I'll not buy that idea. I'll not buy that story that these 2 guys were sacked because of incompetence. I think there's more to it. And as journalists, we should dig and get to the root of this matter.
All right. Thank you, Chuks Akunna, for your time. I have to run.
Always a pleasure.
Chuks Akunna is of the Authority newspaper, and he joined us via the phone from Abuja this morning. Joe says, I'm expecting the sack of Labour Minister Dr. Ngige and Attorney General Malami. Either you're getting not sincere about Naira depreciation in value to the dollar, or he's not an economist. Comparing Jonathan's Naira value to that of Buhari, the same Emefiele that was there then is still the CBN governor. Joe sent that in. Your guest said nothing can change in the last 2 years. Now, let me tell you, Enoh, today, Buhari's government, if today Buhari's government decides to throw the borders open, don't you think we'll be buying this rice for 5K? People always talk of the past administration. Have you forgotten how porous this nation was? Fine, Chukwuwodo, porous in terms of foreign goods, and is still importing. Okay, so you close the borders, the rice, how much is local rice at this time? President should sack Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and review NPower proper. How can one score 5 out of 100 and the name is being listed, and someone scored 65 out of 100 will not be listed? This act or process is questionable. Well, that's a wrap this morning on the Crossfire. Thank you for joining the conversation. We'll wait and see who will be next. My name is Enoh Ogbevire. Good morning.